Well, I am so enjoying the blossoming of spring, and I hope you are too. I know some of us are in the country and some are in the city, and so things are happening at different paces. Those hints of green or the first flowers popping up. Um, Whatever the case, I know a lot of us are just so hungry to get outside, to connect with other people, but to connect with the earth and maybe clean up garden beds or get on that bike for the first time. So I'm just thinking about how we can strengthen our body and help it be more fluid and safe as we're doing that. In our yoga basics class that we did this week, we started off seated. We're not going to do that this time, but I mention it because we were doing that seated Sufi grind where we're circling just through the ribs and the waistline. I want to do a standing version of that to start today. So if you would just come on up to standing sideways on your mat. And remember, you can always angle your mat a little bit so that if we're in downward dog or something, you're not having to try and crank your head up. So feel free to move around to keep your body happy. And just turn your feet comfortably out, if you will. So if you kind of hop and you re-land, that's a natural angle for the ankles. And just hands on hips, begin to slowly circle. And I like to think of it as if you're kind of trying to scrape the inside of a really big bread bowl or cookie dough bowl or whatever appeals to you. So making as much of an angle as you can. So you can see I'm really getting that hip kind of cocked. I can feel a stretch into the kind of low back waist area. You know, this is an area that so many of us get really tight, but we don't even know it until we go to lift up a big bucket of weeds or move a wheelbarrow or grab a bag of mulch or whatever. So as we're doing this, slowly coming into also our breath attention. Finding breath through the nose unless you're too stuffy. And creating that slow, deep, and wide yoga breath. Let's do just a couple more this direction, finding inhale and gap, and exhale and gap. And when you feel ready, circling the other way. And so you can see I'm letting my knees kind of bend and straighten so that those joints are also getting a lot of synovial fluid, also down into my ankles. You know, I feel like we should really treat gardening like an athletic event and prepare for it, and we don't. So this is a great way to really honor our body and say, hey, I'm about to use you, and I don't want to abuse you. All right, just a few more this direction. Again, slowing it down. If you find places that are kind of intense, going, okay, yeah, what's there? Is it different on one side? Feel free to add your ujjayi, that nice throat breath. You contract the throat a little bit, and you get that sound of wind in the pines. All right, and then we're gonna pause and do kind of a cow-cat, again, standing. So I'm gonna have my hands on my thighs, my feet are still wide and comfortable. Inhaling, tilt the tailbone back and draw the heart forward. Some of us might even feel a stretch right here in the abdomen. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone. That's your first action. And then let the rest of the spine follow. Oh, and I'm really spreading my shoulder blades out away from the spine. Inhaling, tailbone to crown. Exhaling, cat back. I notice that I'm also automatically creating kind of my yoga toes. I tend to do that kind of, I've done so much yoga that my body kind of automatically does that to wake up. But feel free to add that and notice how just enlivened you feel. And then if you do replace them, place them intentionally. Nice spread of the toes best you can. You can even place the big toe and then spread the other toes. See if you can find a little more mat in between. Let's do just a couple more here. Asking of the breath, is there more? Is there more exhale? Is there more inhale? And the eyes are either open in a soft drishti gaze in our practice, or when they're closed, they're turned up and in towards that third eye point. All right, last one here. Good. Now, in your last cat back, really feel all the abdominal muscles and their availability to be drawn in towards the spine. I'm hoping you can specifically feel the psoas muscle a little bit. It's right here between the hip bones. It connects actually in behind the hip bone on each side. See if you can feel that. We want to activate it, but we're also going to be stretching it. All right, on an inhale, come on up. Reach for the heavens. Again, only as far as feels good for your arms. And exhaling, prayer hands. Go ahead and take the hands to the neck in a loving little collar here. And then let your head move organically. You can make a full circle around. You can also just be kind of moving the head side to side, tilted back. At some point, you could take one hand and kind of press up under the occipital ridge, and that can feel really lovely. Good. And then releasing those hands down behind, coming into our yoga mudra. So we're intertwining the hands and pressing the fists towards the floor. Alternately, you might grab a strap or scarf. I'd love for you to have one for this whole practice available. And you can let the hands come apart as far as you need to in order to be able to get the arms straight and the shoulder heads to rotate down the back. So give yourself more room if you need it. All right, opportunity here to just pump, so you can simply play with pressing the hands away from the hips or bending the knees, fold, and take your hands to the sky. Again, you can pump here as well, or hold and breathe. It's a great place to use some sighing breath, calming our alarm center of our brain, the amygdala. It says, I'm well, I'm whole, and I'm letting go of anything I just don't need. When you're ready, come on up to standing. All right, we're gonna come into a standing thread the needle. We did a kneeling down version in our yoga basics this week. So I'm gonna just again stand with my feet a little wide, maybe even a little wider. Let's warm up those thighs. On your inhale, start sweeping that right arm behind, and on your exhale, sweep it across the body. I kind of imagine that I've got a big U-shaped table in front of me, and I'm sweeping it clean. Maybe there's some stuff, and I don't mean literal physical stuff, but ideas, tensions that you just want to, you're ready to let go of. As you do these movements, really think about that drawing in to your core. Last one this direction, and we're going to hold the arm across the body now. Left hand presses on the elbow and draws towards the body. If you're higher up than that, you just won't get much. Breathe deeply. And see if you can bring the breath kind of in behind the shoulder blades. And then a nice little add-on is just leaning down a little to the left. And I'm hoping you'll feel a nice stretch here in kind of the intercostals, the lat muscle. And when you're ready, just release and toss it away. All right. Again, nice squat, good athletic, rooting. Inhale, sweeping that left arm behind and exhaling across. Now you can make this as sort of effort-filled or just fluid as you want. So what do you need today? If you're already feeling a lot of just tension and compression, you might want to just be much more flowy. If you've been feeling like you just haven't done enough and you feel stagnated and kind of weak, nice power, like you're pushing something heavy off of that table. Last couple. Power in the core, but nothing tense in the face. Good. And left arm goes across the body, right hand presses into the elbow, and hold. Breathe. Always allowing the breath room is, I think, important, but one of our big challenges, we can kind of get into a shape and to go, I'm there. And if it isn't moving, if the shape's not being moved by breath, something's wrong. We've either gone too far or we're not making breath the priority. If you'd like, leaning down to the right a little bit, breathe into that shape. And when you feel complete with that stretch, just let it go. Ah, good. And let's roll out wrists. This is really important. Those of us who work at computers, etc., or you're thinking about doing a bunch of gardening, this is important. In fact, go ahead and place one hand on the other forearm, kind of right below the elbow, and roll your wrist a moment and notice what's happening up here, right? How powerfully deep those connections are. And then the other. Nice. And then bringing those hands together in prayer, can walk those feet in, love up those ankles by rolling them as well. And that's a great way, again, to take care of the joint above that, the knee. Prayer hands with the shoulders sliding down. Now go ahead and reverse the hands. So the fingertips are pointing down. If you can't do that with your hands together, bring the hands further down and get the palms together, and then just come slowly up to whatever angle is doable. And I hope you're feeling a stretch into those gripping muscles there. Before I come completely out of this stretch, I like bringing the palms, the roots of the palms, if you will, the wrists away, but keeping my fingers touching, getting, again, a nice stretch for hands that have been doing a lot of gripping. And then wiggle them and love them up. All right, we are going to come, again, please have a strap or scarf ready, but we are going to come onto our back body. And we're going to do a lot of things today that are about removing stability, if you will. So we'll be kind of lifting one limb so that we can hopefully use our core to compensate, but we want to notice if in fact we're using other stuff. So we're going to come down to our back body for bridge pose. And I want you to plant the feet as tight together as you can, and the thighs squeezing and touching. Anchor the upper arms into the floor, and on a big exhale, slowly press up, keeping those thighs anchored. You won't be able to come as high up. You might release the engagement a little bit and then re-squeeze and rise. Soften the neck. So this is really making our inner thighs and even the inner groin and kind of pelvic floor area work. I'm hoping you can feel that. And it's lighting up those glutes, which, you know, most of us don't squat or walk enough stairs or mountains to work that part of our body. Hoping you're feeling it here. And come slowly down. Whew. And it might feel good to just kick one leg at a time. And then plant the feet in that more regular bridge distance, like 6 inches apart. Long inhale, as if it's all you'd ever do. Exhale and press up. Check in with your feet. We love our weight to be in the whole foot. And so I always emphasize the inner foot because most of us tend to allow the weight to the outer foot. And that means we're same thing, not using those thighs and glutes. All right. Come in and out. And then as you're ready, hold and just lift one foot off the floor about 1 inch and hover. Don't add that leg extension yet. I want you to see how this feels. Sometimes smaller is better. We can give it more attention, notice subtlety. So is one side more intense? Are you using your neck? Are you breathing? When you're ready, add that leg extension. So you're flexing through the foot, keeping the thighs the same height. Soft tongue, soft gaze, ujjayi breath. Go back and forth a couple more times. And then a slow release, as slow a descent as you can possibly make it. Nice. Let's take those feet out wide, and when you're ready, exhaling, press up. So this is a nice kind of horse riding stance, as I call it. And while you're there, I just want you to see if it's comfortable to very lightly shift your hips a little left and right. So it's just very subtle, and it's just allowing, again, our body to entrain out of that regular path of motion. And release. Whew. All right, we're going to take the right knee down towards the center line and reach behind with the right arm. Deep breath. And when you're ready, switch. And if you find something fabulous and I'm moving on, just do your thing, and you can always catch up with me. I don't go away. And come on back. Ah, nice. We're gonna let the feet come all the way in for a passive butterfly, taking those knees out to the outside. If that doesn't work for you, or you'd like just something more intense, you could bring those feet in to a deeper position like so. Yeah. So notice how that's feeling, which is feeling appropriate. Tune into your breath. Really try to notice what's happening in the abdomen. It's our breath that tells our body what's true. So we always want to deliver a breath that says, I'm well, I'm whole. Next, we're going to come into our robot. So we're going to really ignite the core here. If you don't like robot, or you don't feel ready for it today, maybe your back's a little tweaky, I would just do our compression and expansion breathing instead. Also, you can just do the legs, and I recommend starting there if this is fairly new to you. So we're going to start with the knees straight over the hips, legs parallel but not touching, feet flexed. If you're doing the arms, they start straight up. Gather a long inhale, really active through the feet, the hands. Exhaling, power down through the back, and you're sending one heel towards the floor, maybe just a little bit or all the way. And if you want, you're adding the opposite arm reaching behind. And then come on back. Inhaling, always taking time. Exhaling the other foot and other arm. Now notice if your stable leg is trying to move, it's going to want to come towards you to compensate. So really keep an eye on it. Long inhale and continuing. So finding the level that you can work at that allows you to breathe, even if you're quivering, which I am as I'm talking, allows you to keep your back really rooted. If you feel that lower back coming away, you need to reduce the intensity. So don't go as far. Maybe just do the legs. Good. And then let's take a little break. Whew. So notice how much work the body has to do when something goes out of alignment, if you will, when it's no longer equal. And we're going to, like I said, be doing more of that. All right, we're going to come onto our hands and knees. So that's going to be our first position, again, kind of removing a limb or stability here. I guess besides robot, which is kind of doing it in flight. So intelligent hands right below the shoulders. Inhaling cow and exhaling cat. And when you find your cat, again, really ignite those same muscles you were working in robot and keep them alert as you now straighten your spine into stable table. Pause and first just lift the right hand off the floor. And I'm just hovering it, I'm not extending it. Good, go ahead and add your left knee. I can feel a lot of work firing up in my core. Let's replace those. Make sure you breathe. Release the left hand. Then the right knee. Breathe. And return. So we're going to take this into limb extensions, but I don't want us to lose the spine, right? So find that stability. In this position, you should feel the glute really firing up. Inhale, extend. One arm, opposite leg. Exhale, return as slowly as you can. Is there more? Inhaling, extend the other set of limbs, opposite arm and opposite leg. And again. So when you return to your table, that's the time to notice if you've collapsed, bent your arms, dropped the chest. That slow return is where you'll feel a lot of work happen. So don't come back to gravity. Don't let it win. Next set, we're going to hold in our extension and just go a little out to the side. Again, notice what that does. And coming back to center and slowly to table. Other side. Keeping that breath steady. It doesn't have to match the movements in any particular way. One more time, each side, extending, going a little out to the side, and returning. Last side. And release. Nice. I usually love to relax and give my wrists a love up before I try to go on from here. We're going to be lowering onto our bellies. So I'm going to invite you to come into plank. If that's too much, you'll just drop knees. Otherwise, right here, hold in plank. 1, 2, 3 breaths, whatever feels appropriate. And then slowly lower, chaturanga. Keep those elbows angled in. And maybe you just go 1 inch. This is a really good effort here. Or you drop. Ha. Awesome. Extend the fingers down and back in your jet airplane. Anchor the pelvis, shoulder heads anchor, and begin your extension on the inhale, exhaling, returning. So you can just work through the extension of the spine. Awesome for your back body, waking up that posterior chain. Or you can add arms reaching for the wall behind you. That gives you a chance to get a little extra shoulder blade squeeze too. Maybe release the legs, reaching also for the wall behind as they come up. One more deep breath, whatever level you're working at. And release. Turn the head to one side. I love interspersing sighing breaths into my practice, especially in moments after effort. Speaking of which, forearm plank. This is one of my all-time favorite poses for getting us strong in the core without creating stress on wrists and so on. So as we're doing dog series tonight, this would be a great replacement. As you're ready, first on knees. When you're ready, just tuck the tailbone. You're kind of creating a cat back here. And then if you're able to, you lengthen the spine so it's more flat and neutral than hyper tucked. But that tuck will help you get the right muscles involved. Neck is relaxed. Breathe. So if you've not done forearm plank on your knees before, you might be surprised by how much work this is. It also gives you a place where you can walk the elbows forward a little bit and create incredible quivering. Try it out. Breathe into it. And in your own time, release. And turn your head to the other side. And sometimes here it's wonderful to kind of rock the hips. You can also bend the knees and windshield wiper a little side to side. Interestingly, the hip rocking they've identified really helps get into our parasympathetic nervous system, so that rest and digest part of us as well. All right, we're going to return to our forearm plank, and I want to invite you to add feet. So it's just a little more intense, curling feet under, pressing the thighs to the sky, and now tuck, coming up into your forearm plank. If you're not engaging your inner thighs and you sense that your heels might be rotating out a little bit, try engaging and see if that makes you feel just so much stronger. And then going slowly a little side to side, a little shimmy as I think of it. Nothing big, it shouldn't hurt your shoulders. Woo, and releasing. Keep the pelvis anchored and then press back child's pose. So that's our safe way of moving from our belly, either to child's pose or downward dog. Deep belly breath, letting it register into your back. Take another long inhale, exhaling, tuck the tailbone to bring you up into your downward facing dog. So bring those knees in, curl the toes under, and press the hips back. I always start with bent knees
And in fact, you never need to straighten them. But let's play. Bring one heel towards the floor and the other. Oh, what's in those calves? Achilles tendon, arch. Ooh. Look at your amazing toes, by the way. They're so cool. All right, pause, find your stable downward dog. If this is too much, you're in table instead. Slowly take that right leg fly. Pause and notice if you've lost any of your alignment. Both arms are still activated. And let's find the other leg, left leg rising. Soft drishti gaze, perhaps on the mat between the feet, and return that foot. So invitation for full dog series here. Inhaling forward to plank, you might drop knees and relax the feet. Exhaling chaturanga, maybe 1 inch, maybe even with the elbows. Inhaling cobra, or on the feet, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. We're going to be stepping our right foot forward. If you're game, raise it up and back first. Big inhale. Exhaling, bring that right foot forward and plant the left foot in warrior 1. So left foot is flat, pointing a little bit to the left of center. Inhaling on up. So we're going to hold here and just do a little bit of slicing. And kind of like we were talking before, you can really make this kind of effort-filled, or use it as an exercise in fluidity and kind of feeling what's in here. If you're wanting to really work those triceps, that lower arm is kind of chopping back, kind of karate chopping, but the arm has to be straight. That's fine. Just a couple more. Beautiful. Long inhale on up. Exhaling, open to your warrior 2. Back foot's open 90 degrees. Thighs externally rotating. And we're going to be adding our strap later, at least it'll be an option. So even without it though, we can imagine that we're pressing from the heart out through the middle fingers. Again, if you're already really tight through here, then you might be going for something a little softer. Maybe you're like a heron's wings, their silent flight. One more breath, letting it rise and settle you, maybe sending the hips a little further forward. Inhaling, reaching up and back, reverse warrior. And then slowly forward to our lateral stretch. So you can have your elbow to your thigh, or you might be reaching more towards the floor or a block. And then that top arm might be straight up to the sky, or for a deeper side body stretch, reach out beyond your head. Always take the neck where it's in the most ease. One more deep breath. And on your exhale, rotating to step back, downward facing dog. Try to reduce the swoosh, as I call it. So try to lift that right foot, kind of cat back. Whew, beautiful core work, folks. Nice breath here. Inhale, exhale, sigh. As you're ready, take that left leg fly. Exhaling, bring it forward. Nice rounded back. Boom. Right foot plants, warrior 1. Steer that right hip bone forward, left hip bone back. That's going to make coming up so much better. All right, and so again, options here. You might be playing with slicing. One of my favorites is bringing yoga mudra into warrior 1. If you already did yoga mudra with me tonight, maybe you want to reverse hands so your other thumb is on top. Are you feeling a stretch in that back calf? I really am on one side more than the other. These are the kinds of things we want to notice. Enjoy one more full breath here. Really pressing to straighten those arms. Then inhaling, release, and exhaling, flow to warrior 2. So we want to simultaneously imagine that we're stretching the mat, we're pushing into it, but also that we're
engaging up and in. So if you were on like a really slippery floor with socks, you'd want to kind of draw in the pelvis and the thighs. Feel how stable that makes you. Sink a little deeper perhaps. Inhaling, reverse warrior, reach up. And exhaling, lateral stretch, elbow to thigh, your version. One more long inhale, exhaling. Make your journey to downward facing dog. Nice core strength, hiya. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Really work your heels towards the floor. Marvelous. Slowly walk the hands back to the feet. And I mean really push. So take a moment with each movement to press deep from the hand through the hips. Great shoulder work. Let the head hang here in our ragdoll. And you might sway the hips a little side to side. So to come up, ideally we always want to kind of drop our butt so we get a straight spine before coming up. You might experiment today with how low can you go. Are you able to keep the feet flat and get your butt down? If not, maybe you just go part way. Just see what you got. And then inhale, press up. Exhaling, prayer hands. Pause, notice. Gonna step sideways on the mat in straddle. So nice wide stance. Go big. This is a great chance to strengthen our ankles, but if you've got a history of a pull or strain and it hurts or it pulls, come to the place where you don't feel any discomfort. Just kind of good stretch and good work. And we're gonna pause here and breathe, reaching those arms out. This position is actually a great mood enhancer. So feel the energy of it. Strong, rooted, open-hearted. Is there more inhale? Is there more exhale? Nice. And we're going to go side to side. So if that stance feels a little much, bring it in and then just start pressing, pushing with each foot. It's like you're launching. And just doing this is amazing for our hips, low back, thighs, and so on. But maybe you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get the middle body and shoulders into it. I'm going to start reaching. Don't go so far to the side that you end up having to kind of Elvis your knees. So it's a little more forward and to the side. You also might be counter reaching with the other arm. So it will be getting really active, again, in that kind of karate chop. Maybe you're headed down to the floor. This would not be a bad way to weed, potentially. All right, shake it up. And then hold to one side. If reaching the floor doesn't work for you, you're up on the thigh. Letting the head hang if possible. Other side. Always letting the breath have room. And then slowly walking the hands to the front of the mat and step back. Downward facing dog. Let's take those feet wide a moment in our bear. We're going to bend the knees deeply and send the belly towards the thighs. This is a great chance to work on the shoulder and core without resistance from the hamstrings. So think about your anchoring right at the inside and root of the index finger and thumb. And that's the place from which you're pushing. And hopefully it feels good to kind of rotate your shoulders away from the ears. You can also think about rotating that crease of the inner elbow kind of towards each other. All right, if you can still hold with me, see if you can look forward a little bit on the mat and release the right arm like you're reaching for the wall in front and the left arm. Again, make this organic. Let as much of the body move and sway. One more. And release. Set those knees wide, feet together, child's pose. If your arms need an opposite position instead of forward, you might enjoy briefly weaving one arm at a time in between the legs. If that bothers your neck, don't do it. Deep belly breath that registers into the back. Nice long inhale, and exhaling, tuck the tailbone. Bring those knees underneath you. We're going to enjoy a little sort of work towards tripod dog, three-legged dog. For those of you that this is just, again, for whatever reason, too much, feel free to do those same limb extensions that we were doing in table. Otherwise, join me. Nice anchoring of the hands. Softy soft in the neck. Core is already there. Let it take you up and back. So have the feet no more than like 5-6 inches apart. And first I want you to just see if you can lift your left hand and then bring it back towards the left foot without coming forward through your right shoulder. So we want to still be pressing back. Very important. So I don't really need that hand. I'm just kind of touching base. And then return. Ideally, as you go to the other side, that right hand reaching back, notice you don't want to be swinging the hips left to compensate. We want our core to do it. Keep pressing down through the hand, up and back through the hip. Good. And release. Inhaling upward facing dog, exhaling downward facing dog. Remember, you can do a knee down version and be going back to child's pose. And then as you're ready, meeting in our downward facing dog. Briefly, we're going to take our left hand back again towards the left foot. Fingertips are tented. Notice this is really important. And I want you to lift your right foot 1 inch off the floor. That's it, just 1 inch. Pause. If it's feeling good and you want to play, go ahead and take it higher. Now, if you've got shoulder stuff going on, this is not the pose to play in, okay? You'd want to be in table and working all of that core intelligence there. Foot returns, hand returns. Whew, feel that heat. Okay, find your stability. Right fingertips come back towards that right foot. And we're going to take that left leg. Remember, you want to just hover it for 1 inch. That's a great place to check your alignment and slowly go. And return. Coming all the way to the belly, however you want to get there. You can add in a plank to chaturanga or just come on down. Beautiful. Invitation to intertwine the hands for yoga mudra. Anchor the pelvis and press those hands up off of the back and straight towards the wall behind. Again, you could use a scarf. You could also just skip this, do jet airplane, or even playing with cobra. If you've got your yoga mudra going on, see if you can raise the chest a little, and then just notice if you can rock a little bit right and left. If this is bothering your low back, then do less. And also make sure that the butt cheeks are really pressing down, pubic bone and hip bones connecting. Then release and press back again, child's pose or ragdoll if you prefer. Deep belly breath. See if you can press it right into the low back. bring us into pigeon pose. And you can easily just pop to your back body if you want to do that alternate position that we've often done, or you can bring that right knee behind the right wrist. We want to feel no tension in the knee, just good stretching anywhere through the thighs, butt, hip area. And come on down. Ideally, find a place to support the head. Maybe it's stacked fists, or your block, or all the way to the floor. And let breath move through your body like a wave. Inhale and come on up to your waking pigeon. Now you can just hold here. You could add extending through that left arm. Some people enjoy bending that left knee in this case and reaching back for that left ankle. Some days I love it and other days it's just too much or it crimps in the low back. If that's the case, you let it go. Otherwise, feel free to enjoy this additional stretch for the chest and those quads. In your own time, release. Either downward facing dog, table, or child's pose. Take a moment. Sometimes it feels really good to kick that knee out, just like you're a mule kicking down a barn door or something. And in your own time, find your version of pigeon on the other side. Lots of core support as we move into the pose. And then I often will use my back foot to kind of pull my body a little further back to find that edge. Again, if it's a pull in the knee, don't do it, but we're looking for some good intensity, particularly up here into the piriformis muscle. Whoo, doggy. Support the head. And either breathe slow, deep, and wide, or feel free to join me in a little bellows breath. Rapidly in and out through the nose. Continue a few more. I think of it as like fluffing up your energetic pillow. Anything that's stored in there in your energy center in the abdomen, whew, dig it up. And then through the mouth, let it go. And see if you're able to sink just a little deeper into your stretch. Hello. Inhaling up to waking pigeon. Again, some of us here like just holding or doing a little spinal twisting, or you can add the reach of that right arm, and you might clasp that right ankle. Some people also enjoy taking the hand to the inside of the ankle, so you would take it up over the toes and then to the inside like so. Only if it's a great add-on. And in your own slow time, release. Child's pose, table or dog. And maybe kick out that leg if you're not in child's pose. Inhaling, exhaling. We're going to all arrive in downward facing dog. Take your time. Soft cheeks, soft lips, soft tongue. Invitation for dog series or any alternate. Inhaling plank. Thighs are squeezing together and towards the sky. Exhaling chaturanga. Inhaling cobra or upward dog. You can always go to upward dog from that cobra position. So for those of us whose shoulders don't like that scoop through from chaturanga to upward dog, it's a nice alternate. Whew. Slowly walk those hands back to the feet. Let that head hang. You might enjoy wrapping the hand around opposite bicep. You can also just let the arms be limp. Again, we're going
gonna come on up to standing, and so you might once again try to drop the butt as far down as you can if your knees are feeling ready for that. You can also just come down just enough to hinge up into a straight spine and come up. So I'm gonna ask us to grab a hold of our strap or scarf, and I'm gonna show you a position that is actually a kind of a physical therapy alignment, but that helps make sense of also why we come in and out of forward fold the way I just showed you. But this on its own is a really great thing to practice if you struggle with low back pain, or at any particular day you've got that kind of strain where you're like, you have to go to brush your teeth and you've got a support on the sink. I bet you know what I mean. If so, then this is definitely what you want to practice. So first, without the strap, we'll just create the stance. You're simply going to bend your knees, make sure that your core is there. If you're not sure, kind of do a little cat back, and then just hinge. When I say cat back, by the way, I don't mean that deep round here. I just mean getting enough of it that you can feel those abdominal muscles. Then you're hinging, so you're at kind of a maybe not quite 45-degree angle. And if this was the sink, you would be able to brush your teeth. And I'm hoping you can feel all this ignition up your back body, your posterior chain. Let's add jet airplane arms. Boom. Let's add those yoga toes. And 3 breaths. Soft neck, tongue, and eyes. And I hope you can feel how jet airplane arms really ignites us through those lat muscles and, frankly, our core. All right. Inhaling up and press those hips forward. Beautiful. So now, option to add the strap. I'm going to bring my hands around behind like we do during Yoga Mudra, but I'm going to have them wide, so they're just kind of a little bit wider than my body. And first, I want you to just kind of pull on the strap back there. And whether you have a stretchy one or not, my hope is you're feeling some light up in the traps. Good, let's find our lower body stance. Just bending the knees a little bit, hinging, toothbrushing, and then as you're ready, pressing the fists behind you. So my goal here is not necessarily to come up high, because that's going to rotate your shoulders forward. I just want to come just enough off the butt that I can really feel that work. Breathe. Make it organic. Let the breath kind of bob and weave you, lift and settle you. Good. And on your inhale, come up and press the hips forward. Good. And return to neutral. We're going to come in and out here a couple times. Press the hips forward and neutral. This is just a teeny little movement. I call it standing hip pump. You can always make it bigger, going into a squat and pressing forward. This is a really great way to recover from sitting too long at your desk, for example, or if you're out gardening or doing something, raking, pause and do this a few times. All right. So we're going to take the strap around in front now. Remember, this is optional, right? So we're going to be coming into some warrior flow using the strap. If you want to leave it out or you just want to ditch it at any point, feel free. Find your mountain stance. Feet are parallel. Thighs are a little engaged because we're rooting and reaching. We're not letting gravity take over us. All right. Inhaling, lifting the arms and the left knee. Make sure you bend your standing leg. Pause. Now a little added fun for balance, if you'd like. Take your fists a little to the left and a little to the right. Not a lot, just a few inches. All right, and slowly step back into your crescent lunge or warrior one. Left hip bone steers forward, right hip bone back. Feel those thighs kind of scissor. And then as you're ready, invitation to inhale those arms up, and you can either hold up or you can be moving in and out. Again, what feels good today? If you're upward, try that little left and right again.
center, and I want you to exhale, rotate to your right. And if it feels good, go ahead and reach those hands out along the strap. Breathe. Let the breath take room. It might bring you a little more forward. Exhale, rotate again. Let's do that one more time. Big breaths. Beautiful. And releasing the strap. Plant that back foot 90, coming into our warrior two. Pause. I want you to see how much can you deepen your stance. Take advantage there. Good. And you're either just going to reach those arms out from your heart like we did before, or grab your strap and give it a little pull, a little stretch. Maybe even palms to the sky. So even though we are engaged, rooted, we're breathing with ease. Hello, heart rate. All right. So invitation to keep that front leg bent if you prefer it. Otherwise, straighten, and we're going to reach up into our exalted warrior. It can be challenging sometimes to find just the right distance on your strap to give you a little bit of resistance, but not too much. Check that you're not collapsing in your back waistline. We want to stay long, so there's no goal to go further back. We're upright and maybe reaching back along the ceiling a little, like there's a ripe piece of fruit hanging. Good. And slowly forward, perhaps to elbow to thigh. Or if you're enjoying the strap, you might just keep reaching forward and down through that right arm until the left arm is straight up. More power through the back leg, and see if you can bring your head back into alignment with the whole body. Can you go a little deeper as breath makes it safe? And releasing, press back, downward facing dog. All right, this is your last chance for dog series if you want it. Inhaling to your plank. Remember, you could just do more forearm plank if you were digging that. Exhaling, chaturanga. Inhaling, cobra or upward facing dog. No wings, no shrugs. Super important. And downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. And slowly walk the hands back to the feet. Whew. So this is the third or fourth time we've been in this shape, this ragdoll. How's it feeling now? Very thoughtfully, root and rise. Feeling breath rise and settle in the body. We're going to step sideways on our mat one more time. 5-pointed star, extending those arms on out. Either just holding and breathing, feeling strength, joy, or if you're wanting and craving more side-to-side movement through the hips. You can also take your head each way. All right, stepping to the front of the mat. I've got my strap handy here, and I'm going to bring it on down to my hips to start. And then as I inhale, I'm going to lift my right knee and raise my fist to the sky. Left knee, standing leg, nice bent and buoyant. Neck is easy. So remember, your arms don't have to be back a certain distance. I mean, we'd love to get to the place where we're comfortable right over the shoulder, but don't overdo and give up your core alignment. It's going to create some spinal stress if you do. You might be going a little side to side, and as you're ready, stepping on back. Again, option to have your hands on hips, jet airplane, be moving up and down with the strap. Remember, you can go part way, right? So there's no requirement here. about how far or big the shape. Left hip bone steers back, right hip bone forward. And then as you're ready, we're going to rotate to the left. So nice long inhale. Exhale, belly to spine rotates and extending those arms on out. Good. Big inhale. Give it room. Exhale, rotate again. Do not allow the inner line of that front foot to give up. Keep it powered down. One more. And I like releasing hands to hips so I can transition safely to my warrior two. It's also a nice place to play again. How deep can you go with that lunge? Both stretching the mat and drawing in. Inhaling, reaching out from the heart. Is there more? Letting the breath slow and deepen, even though your heart rate's up a little bit. At least I hope it is. On an inhale, exalted warrior, or you can always keep the knee bent if you prefer. Let breath move you in the pose. Lifting firmly through that left side of the body. And slowly forward, again, towards some version of your lateral stretch. In this case, because of the strap, I'm enjoying keeping my right arm going straight to the sky, kind of reaching down through my left arm towards the floor. Maybe you even come in contact with the floor and you can settle your fingertips or wrists if you like. One more long inhale here. Where does it travel in this shape? And then release. Invitation to step back to your downward facing dog. Bend those knees nice and deep. And then soften into your child's pose. I'm going to do a nice little side body stretch here. Again, if this isn't good for knees, go ahead and be in ragdoll or an alternate. But otherwise, right here, after you've settled, just lift your head a little and take your hands all the way towards one side, keeping both arms straight, feeling a nice side body stretch. Letting breath rise and settle. When you go to move to the other side, please lift your head so that it's safe for your shoulders and spine. And settle. And slowly returning back to center. So this would be a great moment to have your block handy. Also perhaps a throw or folded up towel. Kind of just depends on your system. We're going to start with the support under the sacrum. And you can always come back to that if that's how you want to close your practice, for example. That'd be an option. So you're going to come on down. And then lift the hips, place your object of support right under that sacral triangle. So it's right at the top of the crack of the butt, okay? So if you feel like it's in your low vertebrae, you need to move it down a little bit. And for many of us, just settling the weight here will create kind of a nice tractioning in the low back. If it feels pinchy or nervy, come off. Go to something softer or just don't do this. Enjoy laying flat, perhaps. And I want to invite you to explore here what happens if you extend your legs one at a time. If you do that, sometimes you find that your pelvis kind of wants to dump down. It gives you a little arch in the back. You then need to move the block further down so that you're just kind of suspended right at that fulcrum. Let the legs relax, the hips kind of roll open. Whichever version you're in, emphasize the inhale.
explore the opportunity for stretch here in the abdomen and particularly in these deep psoas muscles. Some of us might even feel a stretch here in our diaphragm, especially if you carry a lot of stress, if you find yourself breathing shallowly throughout the day. This stretch and the next one can be marvelous for opening that breath space. We're going to be here for a little longer. If it's just too much, something, is not feeling right, you'll come off and we'll catch up with you in a moment. With each exhale, giving in to gravity. Now we're not resisting gravity at all. We can let ourselves become like seeds that are getting planted deep, deep in the soil. When you do come off, always bend the knees again. Slowly lift the hips and remove the object of support. Let's bring knees to belly. So ideally, I was having us hold that at least 1 minute. You could hold it quite a bit longer if you were comfortable. Let's come into happy baby. So you could grab at the big toe, the blade, the ankles. You could use your scarf or a strap over the arches of the feet, which can make it a lot easier to reach. What we don't want is to have the shoulders up off the floor and the tailbone. So anchor the tailbone, anchor the shoulder heads down the back, and then apply pressure in that position, drawing those knees firmly down towards the floor. I really hope you feel that you've used your body well, massaged it, discovered tight places and loved them up, weak places and woke them up. All right, let's bring the hands behind the calves now so we can play with half straddle as I think of it. So I'm extending very firmly through one leg while I let the other heel come towards the butt. And another great opportunity for ankle rolling, flexing, pointing. So again, now with your hand here at the shin, right kind of below the knee, if you move your foot, notice that deep connectivity up to the knee joint. And as you're ready, bring those heels together, either in your active butterfly or your passive. For some people, it's really nice to do a little butterfly flapping with the knees if you're in that passive version, or just rocking side to side. And then one last movement before we come into our final dessert pose, as I think of it, our kind of restorative pose with the object under the bra strap. I just want to invite you to come into one more bridge pose. And you can make this very just chill. You can just, leave your hands on your hip bones or whatever. You could also make it a much more active pose, your final experience of bringing breath into an intense posture. You might add yoga mudra. You might take those hips really high, work those shoulders under, finding about 3 to 6 breaths. Sending the knees away from you, the heart up and back towards the chin. Make sure you're anchoring through that inner line of the foot, powering down through the pinkies. And in your own time, release as slowly as you can. Whew. Awesome work, folks. Okay, so I recommend finding a version of this, the bra strap stretch as I think of it, that you can really settle into. So for some of us, that's going to be rolling up a towel or a throw or something like that, so that
roll is right along the bra strap area, and the shoulders kind of come down back off of it. What I've found for me is that most days I really enjoy having the block under that bra strap, but that I need something under my head. So I like the firmest of the block, but it's a little too far to the floor and it kind of makes my neck tense. So I'm just going to grab that throw. I'm going to see like, what height do I need? Oh yes, I can just feel that my head's kind of dropping back a little bit, enough for a stretch through the throat and chest, but that I don't have the neck shortened at the back or taking on pressure. Option to add a little arm movement and shoulder stretch here. You would reach one arm straight up to the sky and then overhead, and you can kind of wave it a little in towards the ear and away. And this is a really fantastic, almost self-massage for renovating some of what makes us uncomfortable, a lot of us, in our trap muscles, right up here where the shoulder connects up to the ear and neck area. This is one of the best releases that I can offer you. And you can even kind of reach back and touch your own trapezius muscle and kind of work it. So when I do that, I usually do it with the opposite hand, and I'll actually kind of hook my thumb sort of right at the kind of front and in front of the trap muscle there, and then I'll press down and back. And in that position, when you're laying down, that should be fairly easy to do. Notice, in fact, how soft this area is, an area that's almost always hard on all of us. And that's because you've taken it into the position where the shoulder blade wingtips are coming in towards the body, and so it can let go. If this feels great, both of these supported positions, I encourage you to return to them the next time you find yourself feeling tight or sore in your low back, mid back, upper back, your breath space. Combined, they're really, really awesome. All right, we're going to stay here for another 30 seconds or so. If it's too much, come off by rolling a little to one side. Try not to sit directly up. Tune in to the breath. I hope that all of our movement, again, both loosening and strengthening, has brought you to a place of feeling just more integrated, more relaxed and present all at the same time. If you are feeling deeply relaxed and you sense that you could drift down into a nice little yogic sleep for a minute or 10, please do. Thank you so, so much for joining me on the mat today. I hope that this supports you in everything you do off of the mat. I'll see you again soon. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace. Namaste. Enjoy all the sounds and sights of spring. I'll see you here at the mat soon.